He was one of the only people, I mean, truly one of the only people to go to the president whom he loved. He loved Donald Trump. But he was one of the only people to go to the Oval Office and say, sir, I totally understand and think Iran's really bad, but a war with Iran is not, is something that could really hurt our country.
On one side is the Lindsey Graham, John Bolton types, where they are actively calling for regime change, who's just, quite honestly, just making a lunatic of himself. It just looks like a lunatic on it. Time for us to close the chapter on the mullahs and the Ayatollah.
Chapter soon and start a new chapter in the Mideast, one of tolerance, hope, and peace.
Okay, that sounds good, but that's pathologically insane. I'm sorry, it is. How do you know it's going to be better? Because be clear, regime change is war. Just to understand, regime change is not like changing the head coach at the Chicago Bears. It's not how it works. And I'm going to Washington, D.C. tomorrow, and I will say this on the show, and I'll say this to anyone that will listen. It's very hard to stop a war when you want, and it's hard to stop a war once you're in the midst of a war.
Charlie Kirk was a voice of reason in the avenue of intervention in Iran. In fact, he was, although a very big supporter of Trump, he was very vocal to Trump about his concerns regarding the topic. And it was his belief and his stance that attacking Iran was not America first, as I believe now. He spoke openly about this too. His base, remember, he was known for winning Trump the election in 2026. His ability to bring together voters, especially young voters, was pretty much unmatched by any political activist in the game at the time. He had a massive following of Christian conservatives, young Christian conservatives, and his stance was that we shouldn't follow Israel into every conflict, especially into regional warfare that would cost the country billions of dollars and cost us American lives. His stance against intervention was so powerful that the Zionist leaders in America they were hassling him about being more supportive of Israel, implying that he was anti-Semitic to speak about his disdain for our involvement with Israel.
You're with us. You don't have to agree all the time. However, and I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, not like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite.
Especially having Tucker Carlson on at his events. Then September 10th happened, and Charlie Kirk is shot and killed at an event in Utah. Turning Point is then handed over to his traditional wife, Erica.
Do you want your kid to be a thought leader or an assassin?
Turning Point purges a lot of its employees. Turning Point then comes out in full support of Israel, full support of the Zionist movement, and Charlie's followers, those Christian followers, no longer have his voice of reason, that voice that maintained a healthy level of skepticism on the Zionist blueprint. Now they have voices like Ben Shapiro,
the Bear Jew,
leading them into the direction of supporting war with Iran.
I heard of the Bear Jew.
In Iran, we're not actually really talking about regime change in this technical sense. Because again, regime change refers generally to a U.S. overseen process of government building, where we put hundreds of thousands of troops on the ground, and then we ensure every step of the governmental transition. What we're talking about here is regime destruction or replacement, where we knock over a regime and let it fall. And then
that's the same thing.
So we see now why Charlie Kirk's death was so consequential for conservatives. With Charlie gone, the Christian movement lost its voice that stood against our involvement in foreign wars and having foreign entanglements. Now, 6 months later, and we're fully engulfed in that very war that he was warning us about and trying to prevent via his influence on Trump. Remember, he personally voiced his disagreement with Trump striking Iran during the 12-day war. He begged Trump to back off because direct intervention completely opposed what his voters stood for. And he knew that they would lose the base with this. And now those same voters, those followers of Charlie, aren't hearing the voice of their mentor telling them that this war is evil and that this war is not for America. They hear the voices that are still alive in the conservative movement, like Shapiro, Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly, Mark Levin. And these people all have been in the business for a long time. And trust me when I tell you that they're very talented at what they do. They are masters in the art of persuasion. That's their job. And influence. That's literally what they do on a day-to-day basis. It's called influencing for a reason. If there's anything suspicious about Charlie's death, I would say it's what I just laid out for you. Charlie's following was huge. It was massive, especially in the young voter groups, like I said. And for someone as big as Charlie, if he was alive now and still standing in opposition to the war, it would be devastating to the Republican Party's support for the war, because Charlie and his followers were the Republican Party. They were the future of the Republican Party. Charlie's skepticism of Zionism made it okay that you could still be a Christian and have reservations about unquestionable loyalty to the state of Israel.
You had both sides. The Israeli side was
You're not allowed to,
overrepresented.
though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this.
And questioning Zionism to Charlie didn't mean that you were a bad Christian or an anti-Semite. It just meant that you cared more about your country and its people than a foreign country. And he was hassled about this. He was called anti-Semitic. Make no mistakes. His friends hassled him about this.
Honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite.
And although he was a great ally to the party and to the state of Israel while he was alive, that undying loyalty was certainly in question for the future. It was in the balance, and something like a full-scale war in Iran, like we're in now, would certainly tip the scale to the point of probably open opposition to the whole thing. And that would be far worse for the pro-war Zionist lobby and far more detrimental than losing a young youth leader to a crazed gunman in Utah. Hate to bring out the conspiracy theory in it all, but that's my stance on it. It's just a little too convenient for me. And, like I said, it's even more questionable now that the rumors are coming out that this operation, this war, has been in the planning for months, maybe even years. So that's why Charlie pledging support to Israel when he was alive was so important to these people, because they knew there were even tougher days ahead for their support, and they needed the support of the leading youth activist in the country, perhaps the world. And if that couldn't be controlled, then him being dead was most likely a way better option than him telling his followers, all of his followers, his millions of followers, to oppose such a war. That's all I got, folks. It's a quick video, but it was on my mind thinking about what Charlie would do, what he would think of his friend Donald Trump right now and his actions in the recent days. Remember, these two met on a regular basis. Trump respected him, and Trump acknowledged that it was in large part due to Charlie's activism that Trump was reelected in 2024. So it's a shame that the young conservatives lost that voice. It was a huge blow that really affected the country to a degree that I don't think we even realize at the present moment. So I think Charlie would be rolling in his grave right now if he saw where America was. And it's up to us, the people who are alive, to call it out and not support it, no matter what they tell you. I know they give good reasons for why we should, or what they think are good reasons for why we should intervene, but it's always the same ugly pig dressed up as something different. But it's the same, I don't know. It's the same content, all right? This is a war. This is a foreign war, an illegal war aimed at destroying a sovereign nation and bending millions of people to our will, to Israel's will, for Israel. And I'm American first, I have always supported Israel too in the past, honestly. I was the biggest supporter of Israel. But since their operation in Gaza and attacking the entire Middle East and now attacking Iran, dude, I feel like you got to be a fucking tard to go along with this. But anyways, that's all I got. So please like and subscribe for more content. I'm Nolan. This is Know Nothing. I'll catch you later. Thanks. Bye.